Well, I actually interviewed Evander Holyfield recently.
Right.
I was down in Miami.
Yes, sir.
Got to meet up with him in person.
Yeah.
Did a whole 3-hour interview with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's an interesting one, man.
Yes, he is.
He is.
Yeah. What heart, man.
Yeah, I mean, I could say it. I said this at the end of the interview. He's just a class act.
Mm-hmm.
He is so just such a gentleman in this whole thing. At no point did he really bash anybody. At no point did he ever, duck responsibility when he lost.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, yeah, this happened. And, at no point did he ever say, oh, this was going to be an easy fight. He was like, even Buster Douglas, and coming into Buster Douglas, I was like, hey, what'd you think when Buster Douglas showed up all overweight? He goes, well, I saw him beat people up at that weight. So
right,
I was taking it seriously. I wasn't just thinking it was going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Holyfield is an absolute class act.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the bond he has with his mom, is just incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
The words "my mama" was said probably 184 times during the course of the interview.
Yeah.
And it's actually funny. This is one of the standout parts of the interview because, he lost in the Olympics. He got the bronze medal in the Olympics. And I asked him how he felt because it was kind of a bad ref call that kind of put him in that situation that stopped him from potentially getting the gold. And I said, well, how'd you feel? You feel like you got robbed? He goes, well, yeah, but, my mama was in the audience, and had I acted out, she would have came into the ring and smacked me in front of the whole world. So I was more scared of my mama than I was of the situation. You won the bronze, and you got kind of robbed, people say, against Kevin Barry. Was it a little heartbreaking because your idol is Muhammad Ali, and he has a gold medal in the Olympics. Were you hoping to bring back the gold as well, obviously?
Well, yeah, the whole big thing, I wasn't going for the gold when wouldn't be no reason to fight.
Exactly.
I'm talking because the honor to be the very best you could be. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, it was just a bad call on their behalf, and it stopped me from moving up. I was just a little disappointed because everybody said, man, you ain't even go off. I said, my mama was there. I said, I didn't want my mama to climb up in the ring and hit me with that shoe. I said, my mama would have did that.
She would have climbed in the ring and hit you.
Yeah, because my mama told me, she said, don't act like nothing ain't never happened to you.
Yeah.
She said, things happen to everybody at any given time.
That's something. Him being the youngest of all those kids.
Yeah.
Usually the youngest gets away with everything.
Yeah.
Right? But that's something else. Yeah.
Well, I asked him about the George Foreman fight, in which, of course, he won, but he said that's the hardest he's ever been hit. Well, yeah, you said the hardest you've ever been hit in your life was by George Foreman. Yep. You actually went back to the ring and asked your corner if all your teeth were still there.
Yeah. I mean, it was man, to get hit, and, and I asked him, I said, what did he hit me with? I'm like, all I know, I got cracked. And I go, what did he hit me with? He said, he hit you with a looping right. And so, a looping right means you don't see it because he threw it wide and they come down, bam, like this. So my hands are up and they come between them, bam.
Yeah, you notice, I mean, I actually was watching that today.
Really?
The Holyfield thing, because I'm just getting back, trying to catch up on things, and that's one of the things. Since we have a connection with that, because his assistant is, who was while I was directing the movie. Yeah. His ex-assistant is the person that's watching my children. Yeah. while my wife and I were gone doing this movie.
And I talked to her before the interview to just get more information about Holyfield and fill in a few blanks and everything. Right. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting, but he said the hardest he's ever been hit was by George Foreman at like
He
40.
said,
He was like
"What
40
did he hit
something
me
years
with?"
old. He said, "What did he hit me with?"
Right.
He said,
Right.
overhand.
But
The overhand right.
I noticed one thing about Holyfield. He barely admitted anything that like raised him up. He like you couldn't get him to.
Yeah, he wouldn't brag.
He wouldn't. He wouldn't brag about one of his. I mean, he wouldn't brag about any of his him defeating other people. It was just he would give credit to the opponent almost all the time.
Yeah, he was the first 4-time heavyweight champion. Muhammad Ali was a 3-time.
He was the first.
He matched that and then got the 4-time.
Yeah.
And listen, I mean, it was interesting how respectfully he would talk about everyone. But he said when Foreman hit him, he went to his ring. He said, "Do I still have all my teeth?"
Right.
Because he thought his teeth had been knocked out. It's interesting how Foreman at that age still had those tree trunks that he would swing around.
Yeah, and that timing.
Yeah, the timing. He said that was the thing.
I was ringside when Foreman won the heavyweight championship against Moore.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, there's I got a picture of me like that.
Foreman was I think people always downplay him because of the Muhammad Ali thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just because that was such an epic win for Ali that people forget how good Foreman actually is.
Yeah, and I mean we had the same lawyer, Henry Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with Henry at the fight, and we go to go. I say hi to the foreman afterwards, and we go to his room. He's still in his trunks and everything else, on his knees praying with his family.
Yeah,
just these are just folks, man.
Yeah, Holyfield's the same way. Super Christian. In fact, I even brought up this whole thing where there's this miracle healer named Benny Hinn. He gave $250,000 to. And the story that I had heard that I brought up to him was that like he had failed, like he basically, after a physical with the boxing commission, they basically said that he wasn't able to box anymore. And he started to kind of hang out with Hinn, and Hinn did the whole miracle healing thing. And it sounded like basically he felt like he healed him and he gave him a bunch of money. But he said that's not really how it went. He said he was giving him money anyways, and the healing thing was whatever. But yeah, I mean, a deeply Christian man who really believes this stuff. And unfortunately, sometimes there's people who take advantage of that. Yeah. The whole miracle healing thing, I don't have any belief in that whatsoever. But the one thing I did bring up that he denied was that at one point there was human growth hormone accusations against Holyfield, where I guess he did this whole investigation and they found some records that basically looked like his name. And then when they called the number, he picked up, and you know what I'm saying? There's that type of thing. But he said it's not true. I've been tested more than anyone else. I mean, when you look at Holyfield, do you feel like he took, PEDs or no?
No, I wouldn't know anything about that. Like I'm no expert on that stuff at all.
He was just so statuesque. His build, like he probably had the greatest build of any boxer. Would you say that?
No, not at all.
No, really?
No.
Who had a better build than Holyfield in his prime?
Shoot, man, there's a lot of people.
Like who?
Like
who had a better
Ken
build
Norton.
than Holyfield? Ken Norton?
Ken Norton, top to bottom, was bad. Like Holyfield was, he had very thin legs. And so, Holyfield had to really kind of generate a lot from, because he didn't have the legs, so he had to really do a lot of torquing to kind of combat the heavier guys, because he didn't, it's like, he had speed, he had tenacity that made up for, I think, some of his lack of leg strength, in my opinion. Because, he's built similar to, he was really big upper body.
Well, yeah, he moved up a weight. Remember, he was a cruiserweight.
Right, yeah.
And he beat everyone in that division. And he moved up to heavyweight, which is, listen, once you go heavyweight, you could fight anyone. You could fight Tyson Fury, at 300 pounds, wherever the hell he weighs.
There's a thing with boxing is the legs. People don't realize, with Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, who was the bigger guy?
Foreman.
Not really. Not in my opinion.
Really?
They were 4 pounds different.
Didn't know that.
Only 4 pounds different. And that's
because of what? Ali's legs?
Yeah, they're 4 pounds different in weigh-in. One was 214, the other one was 218.
Huh.
No, on fight day, they could have been the same.
Exactly.
Ali could have been bigger, but Ali's legs were definitely bigger than Foreman's.
Right.
These are two guys that are virtually the same size, but one's moving faster. Who's got the advantage? Ali does. Ali's moving faster than Foreman and the same size. 4 pounds don't mean anything when you're heavyweight, right? So that's the thing is that people forget that Muhammad Ali was usually the biggest guy in the ring. You know, he's a big dude moving fast.
Right.
Yeah. So so that's the thing. And his legs, I mean, Ali's balanced from head to toe. And so for boxing, I'd say that's a better build for, to move around. That's why he moved around like he floated on his legs because they were powerful.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Ali in his prime versus Holyfield in his prime.
That's a little weird to.
Both heavyweights.
Ali would have the big time advantage.
Why?
Oh, the weight, mobility, that kind of stuff. He's a bigger guy. Holyfield was just smart. He was one of the best counter fighters. But, like Holyfield said himself, styles make fights. If I'd seen Holyfield fight somebody who was like an Ali in his prime, I think it would help out a little bit more. Like of course, Holyfield just had the heart to fight a Riddick Bowe. But Riddick Bowe, think about a Riddick Bowe moving around. That'd be pretty hard to deal with.
Right, because Riddick Bowe won 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't too many that was as mobile. Like if there was I guess if there was if Larry Holmes was in his prime against Holyfield would have been interesting. But Holyfield became heavyweight later,
No, you're right. No, Larry Holmes was sort of on his way out when they fought. I talked to both Holyfield and Larry Holmes about this fight. Holmes said that he had a detached retina. And, and I mentioned that to Holyfield. He goes, well, he could have called off the fight.
Yeah, that's true.
So, if he chose to fight with that, well, what am I to blame?
They're fun matchups to think about, But Muhammad Ali, that mobility, it's hard to find somebody to emulate that.
Well,
train against that.
What if Holyfield had fought Tyson? Let's say after Buster Douglas, if Tyson didn't go to prison and he would have fought before that whole 6-year prison stint, do you think that Holyfield still would have beat him?
My opinion.
Your opinion.
I felt like it was always a psychological thing there.
Right.
I always felt it was a psychological.
Holyfield said, because he talked about how he sparred Tyson at 22, and he said something, and this is the clip that was kind of going viral in the interview so far. He said, I was never scared of him. He said, the thing about Tyson is that he scared people. But I was never scared. And what was it like to spar Mike Tyson back then?
Well, the thing is that Mike used to knock everybody out. So, it was kind of like, he had his own sparring partner that he knocked out every day. He had people come in there and he'd knock them out. And so Mike and I, we both on the losing squad. So we on the losing squad and stuff like that. So this is the reason why I realized all the things that he could do, because he did it so well. He was an expert in rope, expert in hitting the bag. Everything that he did great.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I was kind of watch, and I said, wow, man, he's good. But in the game of boxing, it's about what you can do to a person to get them to move, to capitalize on which way they're gonna move. But Mike was all one of the fighters who charge at you all the time.
Yeah. And
what I had that a lot of people didn't have, I had good rhythm and good movement. So I can pop back and make you run into my shots. I had fast hands and like this and what I had too, I had this thing where that I wasn't afraid of nobody.
I had known him. I mean, he was good. He was like, Tyson was great at what he did. And I guess I had forgotten, I found this out after the interview. Like after the interview, there's always, I should ask them this. Because I found this little tidbit where they talked about at that time when they knew each other, there was an incident in a pool hall. Have you ever heard about this? Where like Tyson was basically like playing pool with everyone, but he was sort of bullying everyone and like taking turns when he wasn't supposed to take turns or whatever. And Holyfield just went up to him and just grabbed the pool stick away from him. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, nah, you're not doing this with me. I see how you're doing everyone else. You're not doing this with me. And Tyson like didn't say anything. Mm-hmm. Tyson, I guess, doesn't remember the incident, but it kind of sets the tone of Holyfield is not scared of Tyson.
Yeah.
And you saw that in the ring. Like he wasn't running. If you notice, Holyfield wasn't running at all.
Yeah, like I said, I always felt there was a psychological component.
Yeah.
And that Holyfield was like a big brother to him.
Yeah.
And was very staunch and very, I feel like Tyson had a lot to think. He had a lot of things going on. He's coming out of prison. Now he's Muslim. Mm-hmm. He's fighting a man who's a devout Christian and who's always been very solid. And because when I first would see Tyson speak about Holyfield before their fights, it was like he seemed like he was manufacturing this hatred. Yeah. And I'm like, that's interesting. I remember being at those press conferences. At the time, Jeff Wald was one of Tyson's managers, and he was my manager at the time. And I was saying that to Jeff, but like, Tyson doesn't seem like himself. And then I feel like that third round, Tyson heard something that he never heard before, is that the whole audience was cheering for Holyfield.
You're talking about the first fight or the second fight?
That first fight.
First fight, yeah.
And I feel like psychologically that was like kind of debilitating.
Yeah, because it's never happened before. Everyone from my era thought that Tyson was the second coming.
Yeah, and I couldn't understand why Tyson didn't faint. Didn't like
faint.
Well, if you guys a guy who's a counter fighter, mm-hmm. you want to make him bite on his counter. You want to make him throw that counter so you can catch him afterwards. And I didn't see him doing that. I saw Tyson committing to the first blow all the time with a counter fighter. That second fight, it looked like Tyson was feigning and making him throw that second. And I was like, I think Tyson's going to knock him out. That's what I thought in the second fight before things got bonkers. Yeah. But that first fight, I just, because, again, I studied the hell out of Tyson because I had to play him. Yeah. And I just I just felt like there's something psychologically that was afoot.